What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be the first in hopefully a long string of DN ranked match videos. I'm going to be recording them and then commentating over them rather than talking live. That way I can actually focus on gameplay and actually give some sort of pinpoint commentary basically, because this is an old format that I used to do a long time ago and it worked really well for me, and I don't quite know why I stopped doing it. But basically I've just been kind of had a buzzkill with DEVpro, because it's honestly just like, especially with the streaming, like there's just an extreme lack of actual player interaction there, and that's something that DN actually provides. And in terms of things that I felt like I could get stuck into, DN was definitely that thing that I felt that I could get into to like actually feel like I'm getting my competitive edge back and molding myself further as a player and stuff like that. DEVpro doesn't really get that, but I will still be doing some DEVpro videos, don't worry. But I will basically be doing anything TCG that I'm playing will be done on DN, because I want to actually climb the ranks there and do all that. But anyway, this is sort of a low rank duel. I've been playing a few matches and kind of got some places that I wanted to be to start recording. But essentially I lost rock paper scissors and I have no idea what I'm playing against, and I have 1-for-1 and a Netibus in my hand, and so I'm thinking that there has to be a way that I can hand loop him, because I have Megalo and I have instant fusion. Ordinarily, if I had Teus in the place of the Megalo, it would be an automatic 3 cards, and it'd be really easy for me to think about. But I don't have the Teus, so I have to actually, start thinking and compromising on what sorts of different things I'm going to be doing. And honestly, you're going to see some really wacky plays, like me putting 4 monsters into a Trishula and stuff, but I end up getting there in the end with what I need to do. The game, honestly, could have lasted a bit longer than it, ended up lasting, but I just ultimately was able to find my way to the combo string. But as you saw, I 1-for-1 discarded the controller, which was the first card off the top of the deck, and I actually just started laughing IRL when I drew this hand. I was like, shh, of course. The first video that I'm going to try to record a game for, I draw the controller as the first card, no less. And I was about to be really upset if an Undyne was revealed off the top as well. But anyway, 1-for-1 discarded the controller, summoned Netibus, and I used Netibus to send Dragoons and add a different Dragoons, and then the Dragoons adds a Deep Sea Diva, because I still have my normal summon. So I summon the Diva, and I think for a long period of time on whether I want to get a heavy infantry or a marksman. I start counting things out in my head, trying to figure out what the proper level I'm going to need is to make Trishula. And ultimately, I finally stopped being kind of retarded, and I ultimately make my decision of, Diva being 2, Netibus being 1, and infantry being another 2 is going to be 5, and thus I'll be able to just, as long as I can use a Dragoons in, a sparing manner, then I will be able to make the Trishula happen. So, I've pretty much set the Trishula play up at this point, so I reveal the Megalo, and I discard the Netibus and the Dragoons in order to trigger its summon effect, and I always put it in the spell and trap zone to reveal it, because, it just seems courteous. But then summon goes through, and I get my Dragoon search, and then Netibus gets to summon one of the Dragoons back from my graveyard. And this is very important because of the fact that its first turn of the game, there is no battle phase. I cannot tribute the Netibus on my field for Megalo because it physically cannot make an attack this turn, so I could not activate its effect to give it a second attack. But because the Netibus was in my hand, it allowed me to actually just keep the play moving in the same way that I wanted it to. So now I have 9 on my field, and I have 2 engrave, and I'm trying to count numbers for Moulinglace, and I eventually come to the conclusion that because I was debating on whether or not I wanted to synchro into Tatsunoko or not, or even if I would be able to drop the Moulinglace. I thought for a slick second that I'd miscalculated somewhere, but essentially I came to the conclusion that if I synchro with all 4 instead of making Tatsunoko, if I just skip the Tatsunoko and synchro with all 4 of them into a Trishula, that put me at 6 engrave, and then I could instant fusion into Norden, get back the Dragoons, and then immediately drop the Moulinglace before I make a rank 4. And so at that point, it just puts me in a very strong position. I don't have a Dweller active before I take the cards out of his hand in case he's playing like Shadal, Burning Abyss, anything like that. I don't have that luxury, but I end up just basically like there's no reason for me to actually have done so, because the fact that it would make my Moulin not live. But yeah, so I just end up trishing a card out of his hand. I see a Mathematician, which honestly, it could have been a better card to reveal, because like the Mathematician just really got me to thinking that it was either BA or Shadal's. I completely forgot that Phantom Knights existed. But I summon the Moulin, and he just immediately scoops. It's not something he wants to deal with, playing with 3 cards going towards my field of Megalo and Trishula and Moulin, as well as the equip spell. But, so I have no idea what he's playing. The only card I've seen is a Mathematician, and for some reason I'm thinking he's playing Burning Abyss or Shaddolls. For some reason I just completely discounted Phantom Knights from being in the picture. And so I thought about putting in Lind and Sphere, but I was like, no, if he's playing Shaddolls, that's not good against that. There was a lot of different things that went through my mind, and so I finally was like, you know what, just hell with it. I'm just going to put in the third Twin Twister, and I'm just going to, like, just see what I'm playing against. I'm already up a game, so I was like, I'll use game 2 to feel out the waters. No pun intended, basically. But game 2, he decides to go first after, you know, getting his hand looped away, which is rightfully so. Good for him, because my hand is Diva, Teus, Instant Fusion, and that's another 3-card hand loop. So if I'd gone first and been unopposed, I would have taken 3 cards out of his hand again. But he starts out with Foolish Burial, and he sends the one that you can banish and search. I think it's Gloves or Cloak. Or no, it's, what is that? That is Cloak. And he gets Silent Boots. And Silent Boots is obviously the one that you can special summon, and then it also searches a trap. But I've got Twin Twister in my hand, and that ends up being extremely crucial. But, so he summons another copy of the Cloak, and he specials the Silent Boots and overlays into Dante. And he actually is playing really slow, based off, you know, just personal opinion. I think he's playing... Sorry about that. I think he's playing a bit slow in terms of, like, he just mills his cards off Dante one at a time. And I felt like if he was going to, like, I really felt like he was going to try and soft cheat me at some point, because, like, he's milling them one at a time very slowly. So I was basically waiting for him to hit a card that was really good that he wanted to hit and didn't want to go any further, and then say, oh, I was only going to mill 2 with Dante or something. Basically, I'm always prepared for the worst. But then again, that's why I'm saying, like, DN, it really enhances your sense of player interaction and your competitive edge, because you have to think about these things. But he sets 2 and passes. He didn't get a very favorable mill off that Dante, but he just banished his Silent Boots to search a Fog Blade. And so I draw Net Abyss, and that's actually really good as well, because if I didn't, like, have the Twin Twister, I could have just summoned it, and it would play through the back row, no matter what they were, because Net Abyss sends its cost, and I'd have the Teus and stuff to back it up. But I draw another Twin Twister, and I discard Twin Twister for itself. That way I don't disrupt my water count at all for what might happen. And I check his grave. He's got 2 Fog Blades and one of the sword that just got put in there. And he doesn't have any Phantom Knights in his grave at this current point in time. The only one that he still has is under the Dante. So I summon Diva, and I get Max Seed. And I'm like, alright, well, I'm just going to kill you this turn. I basically always take the Max Seed challenge with this deck. Especially against decks like Phantom Knights and stuff like that, because, I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to play? I mean, they don't play Gores. It's not something they play. Sorry about that. I'm really sick. I got some, like, bronchitis or some shit. But, carrying on. The Net Abyss comes out off the Diva. Dragoons get sent, and I add another Dragoons, and then the Dragoons here will search for the Megalo that I'm missing. And I get to have a huge play string here. And I'm trying to think of, like, the most efficient way to do it under Max C. But I know I have game. At least 10,000 damage that I can put over this Dante. I'm just trying to think of the most economical way that I can do so. And I think I end up giving him, like 8 or 10 cards. But, essentially, I reveal the Teus and discard the Dragoons. And, you know, the Teus makes its way to the monster card zone. And I always summon Teus in attack mode now. That's a little small thing that you just kind of have to teach yourself when you're playing Mermail, is to basically always summon everything in attack mode if you have a battle phase that turn, because you have no idea sometimes what you're going to be tributing off with Megalo, what your opponent's going to let you tribute, stuff like that. Sometimes if a lead gets involved, lead has to tribute attack position Mermails as well, and Teus would fulfill that requirement. Like, all of these different things come into mind, and at worst case, if you don't do anything with the Teus, it's still extra damage. But, so, I'm sitting here trying to think. I want to drop a Moulinglace, because Moulinglace, if I back it up with a Dweller, which is definitely my game plan because I have Instant Fusion, if I back it up with a Dweller and make Moulin, that's just a free 33. But I ended up searching the a second Megalo off the Dragoons that I discard for Teus, and then searching Gund, and I ditch the Gund and the Megalo for the first Megalo, and get my Mizuchi, and then Gund specials the Megalo back. So now I have 2 Megalos on the board, each has the potential to attack twice, because of all the cards I have left over on my board. So I use one of the Megalo's effects, tributing Net Abyss to get a second attack, and then I use the Net Abyss to bring back Dragoons, giving him another draw. And I'm going to end up using the second Megalo to tribute off Diva, if I remember correctly, to clear space. Because at this point, I'm sitting here, and I have a very clogged board. My board is extremely clogged. I'm not really expecting to use this Instant Fusion to get back anything, just to be another level 4 combo piece. I'm so upset. Why am I so sick? This is terrible. Oh well. I might actually speed up these videos in the future as well. Like speed up the gameplay maybe 1.25 times or 1.5. Not too fast, but you know, fast enough to where the commentary can keep rolling smoothly rather than like all these little areas where there's not really anything to talk about. But I mean, this is just an experimentation at this point. But anyway, I use the second Megalo to tribute off the Diva to give that Megalo a second attack. And I still have the Instant Fusion that I can use. I have 4 Waters Engraved, so I Instant Fusion for Norden. And I don't have any room to get anything back, so that's definitely not anything that's something that's going to happen. But I do have a Dragoons that's still on the field because of the Netabus being there and being tributed. So I overlay those two into Dweller just so that he can't bring his thing back off the traps if that is something he was going to do when I'm going for game. And then the Dweller detaches Dragoons, the Dragoon searches Moulin, and that Dragoons just put 5 in my grave, which I look to confirm before I add the Moulin. So I add the Moulin to grave, or to hand, and my opponent immediately checks my grave after he sees what I've just added, and I special the Moulin. So he gets to draw 1 more card, but the Moulin takes 2 cards out of his hand, just because, I mean, why not? So he has, what does he have? He has like 9 cards in hand right now, and he started with 1 and the Max C, so I've given him a lot of cards. But I discard a Twin Twister, and I discard another Trap, the Wing. And then I equip Mizuchi onto one of the Megalos. They both have double attacks, so it doesn't really matter. But the Megalo that doesn't have the equip spell on it is still 2900 and is still big enough to get over that Dante. And that would be the weakest thing to attack over the Dante with. So I attack over the Dante with the 2900 Megalo. And I pull up the calculator because he just scoops. And I wanted to calculate what the damage was. And so the damage ended up being 29 from the Megalo's second attack that it could still perform, 33 from the Moulin, 22 from the Abyss Dweller, 22 from the Teus, and then 37 and 37 again from the Megalo that hadn't attacked to equal a nice even 18,000 damage, so exactly double what his life was and was available to him to even have for, you know, a potential to stay in the game. And obviously he didn't have any sort of hand like battle traps, so like Minko, Battle Fade, or anything like that. He didn't play any of those, so it was just able to actually just win right there. I basically take the Max C challenge, as I said, every time with this deck because I can just kill you if my hand is good enough to be playing the game, and whether or not you Max C me doesn't really matter. And the only thing that really worries me is game 2s and 3s where there might be Battle Faders or Minkos involved, but that is also circumvented by Odd Eye's Meteor Burst Dragon if I feel so inclined to make it as part of my combo. But anyway, that's all for this video. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this format of me just doing commentary over the games. Like I said, I'll probably speed up the gameplay footage in future videos so the commentary can be a lot more smooth. Hopefully my throat gets better so that I don't have to have coughing fits in my videos. That could hopefully be pretty good. I'm trying to deal with that one as is, but otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description of my Facebook pages, my Twitch channel, my Twitch Alerts donation link. If you want to donate directly to me, support me, whatever, do all that sort of nonsense. Otherwise, just support me the way you've always been supporting me through sharing the videos and doing all the stuff that you have normally been doing. But again, let me know what you guys think about me doing these videos in the comments down below on DN and in match form, because a lot of people wanted me to start playing matches because they wanted more, you know, more diverse game states and stuff like that. And honestly, I feel like this is probably the best way to do so, and honestly, the best way for me to actually film them. But anyway, as I said, let me know what you guys think. But other than that, as always, guys, take care.